Alright, what is up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today we are back with another video. Today I wanted to break down a little bit of what the Flyers kind of off-season moves that they could make, and I want to break down some of the RFAs and UFAs that they have left to sign, who I think they will sign, things like that, what kind of contract they could get, and things along those lines. So, as many of you know, the Flyers have $6.2 million in cap space to sign these guys. Per cap friendly, they have 7.8, but that also leaves out a couple of the guys like in the AHL and things along those lines. But again, and who I'm talking about would be Vorobiev, Stewart, Nathan Noel, Curtis Gabriel. You also have Alex Lyon, Reese Wilcox, Andy Walensky, and that's pretty much it there for this year. And those guys kind of add up to the $7.8 million right there. But the main guys that we were talking about here for the Flyers, you have Nate Thompson, Derek Grant, and Tyler Pitlick. Those guys are three unrestricted free agents that you have. You have a fourth in Brian Elliott. And then you pretty much, you have a fourth and a fifth with Elliott and Justin Braun, and then you have Phil Myers and Robert Hagg as two RFAs as well. You already signed Nicholas Aube-Kubel, so that's one of the RFAs off the books there. So again, there is some things that go into this. I'm going to start off with Elliott here. As for Brian Elliott, I like Brian Elliott. I really do. I talked about this before. I talked about it last night on the Flyers Nitty Gritty podcast when I hopped on with your Eve. You want to check that out, I'll put a link to that in the description below. But as I said, with Elliott, I like Elliott. He's 35 years old. As I said, unrestricted free agent. I think it's okay for Elliott to get a one-year deal. I think that's probably the best thing. That's probably what he's going to be wanting. I think that's really the team-friendly thing. And I don't think Elliott is really in the stage of his career to be moving to a whole different thing and moving his family and things like that to play hockey for 1 year. That's probably not something he wants to do. There have been whispers of him retiring. I don't think that could happen. Again, if it does, I wouldn't be surprised if the Flyers look out for somebody in the free agency goaltending market, because I don't know if they're 100% comfortable with having somebody. I mean, there are some guys that you can maybe sign this year in the free agency market for the goaltenders. Maybe a guy like Jimmy Howard, maybe Craig Anderson. But again, I don't see those guys really moving for maybe 1 year. Crawford might be a little much. And again, there are maybe some others, maybe a guy like Louis Domingue. I'm not really sure. We hinted on this on the podcast. But again, I like Elliott. I think he's just, I really do, because again, I talked about it before with Elliott. He won them games, he stole them games, he kept them in games, he had a really good season. You can't just look at the numbers for Moose, because again, he went up against a lot of some of the best teams. I mean, he played the Capitals a couple times, Columbus, Pittsburgh on the road. I mean, he had some tough matchups, and a lot of the time he came out with some wins, and he was just dominant. Carter Hart even said he wants Elliott back, so that right there is huge as well, because if your starting goaltender wants him back, that's something you kind of really want to listen to if you're Chuck Fletcher and the Flyers. But again, I'm confident in Elliott coming back, and I think it'll be really a real benefit for him and the Flyers. Moving on, Justin Braun. I don't think the Flyers are going to sign Braun. I think it's honestly probably time to move on from Braun. I talked about it before. He could get a little bit more money. He could get around the same thing, maybe a little bit less. I'm not really sure what he gets. My opinion on that has changed, to be honest with you. He's 33 years old. Obviously, we all know right-handed defenseman. I don't think the Flyers want to be paying a guy, $3.8 million to be playing a bottom pairing role, which is pretty much what he played for last little bit of the season there, and then for really the playoffs as well. I liked Braun. I thought he was good. I think the one thing is with Braun is that you have so many guys now knocking on the door. I just don't think the Flyers have the money to be, paying him, because again, he could get a little bit less, he could get more or whatever. There may be a team that overpays for him. I'm not really sure if they do, but I wouldn't be surprised if he tests the market. Phil Myers and Robert Hagg, I think the Flyers signed both of these guys. I think it's a pretty much no-brainer, honestly, for the both of them. It's funny because Yariv brought this up last night on the podcast with Hagg. Maybe you try to lock up Hagg for a little bit, because maybe you could try to maybe lock him up maybe like 3 years, 1.5, 3 years, $1 million. Something along those lines where you kind of don't really have to continuously worry, and you have a bottom pairing guy, your 6-7 D-man that's solid, and you know what he can bring, and it's definitely a long time coming for Hagg. So I think the thing is that maybe you could do that. Maybe they try to lock him up for that period of time. And again, I think he's a guy that he's proven that you know what you can get with him. And again, you still have him for the pretty much prime of his career then. Age-wise, as he's 25 now, you'll have him for maybe at least 27, 28, something along those lines, and you can just have him for a long time. As I said, you know what he brings. So that might be something there with Robert Hagg. I like Hagg. I think he had a really good season. So that's definitely something to consider as well if you're the Flyers. As for Phil Myers, I think we'll probably ask around what Sanheim got as well. That was another thing that me and Yariv both hinted at, is that maybe he will, he definitely would probably try to get what Sanheim wants, and that's definitely understandable. I personally think they could try to get Myers maybe like a 3 years, $2 million, maybe 3 years, $2.5 million. I think that would be something that could really help out the Flyers, help out Myers, because again, he's really turning into that defenseman that we all expected. I still cannot believe that Calgary let up on him, but that is just a whole different story. But again, I really do think that I think, again, Myers, he could be getting that contract that's like, okay, this is really the years for him, and he can really just move into that, and we can definitely see where that goes there with Phil going into these next couple years of his career, as he's 23 years now, or 23 years of age as of now, excuse me. So, moving on here with the Thompson, Grant, and Pitlick. As I said, I don't think any of these guys sign. Thompson, 35 years old. Grant, who's 30, and then you have Pitlick, who's 28. As I said before, all unrestricted free agents. I'm not really sure if they sign these guys because, again, if the Flyers the only guy that I'm honestly looking to sign is Pitlick, because, again, I think Pitlick is that guy where it's like, Pitlick is just such a good player, and I really do like him. I think he's a guy who could honestly get more money in the market if he goes and tests free agency. I think the one thing is, though, is that if you're the Flyers, you maybe want to put that money into a center instead, because again, Pitlick, he can't really play center because he's not versatile enough to take faceoffs. So that's the thing. Like, it's one thing if it's Grant, because if Grant maybe had a little bit more skill, maybe a little bit younger, I would have signed Grant because, again, I like him. I think he's very good. But I think the thing is with Pitlick is that he shows so much every given night. And as I said before, like, he could get a lot more money. So this is the thing. Maybe the Flyers want to push that into a center. Maybe that his role, which is basically that third line, fourth line winger role, can honestly open up for somebody. Maybe honestly, I think a guy like Albie Kubel could come in and really take that spot, which is why he's already signed. So that's another thing to kind of take a look at it as well. But again, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that could happen. Wouldn't be surprised if the Flyers make any trades this year. Again, I don't see them honestly making a huge splash. I think if they make moves, it'll be those hockey trades. It's like, okay, I understand that. Maybe like a one-for-one kind of deal, maybe retaining some cap. Maybe something like that Niskanen and Gudas trade, which is still a good trade, but it's also a hockey trade at the same time, if you understand what I mean. But again, I think there's a lot of things that could happen. Again, the Flyers have not done anything since they signed Nicholas Albé-Kubel. So again, we're still waiting here. The draft is coming up, as today is September 23rd. If remember, the draft is October 6th and 7th. Free agency is the 9th. Crazy week coming up here for the NHL. You now have the Stanley Cup Finals is tied at one game, and 2 days ago on the 21st, which was a year ago on the 21st, I sat ice row at the Flyers home game versus the Rangers, the only preseason game that they won. I sat ice row that night with my girlfriend, so it's just crazy because right now they could have had a preseason game tonight, which is honestly crazy to think about, and the Stanley Cup hasn't even been awarded yet, so that's something to consider as well. But remember, guys, let me know what you guys think below. Me and Amadeo, we will have we're definitely going to be having some podcasts coming up again. We did do one the other night, and we also have one coming either on Monday or Tuesday. We're going to have Jason Martinez on again for the second time. If you remember, we had Jason on back in November after the Flyers, they shootout win versus Toronto on the road. But again, we're going to have Jason on, who is the very good host of Flyers Daily. So again, if you haven't checked out Flyers Daily, you must be living under a rock. But anyway, remember, guys, podcast articles, those links are on my channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys in the next one, and goodbye. Okay, so I know that I said I thought the video was going to end, and I just realized right when I hit the end, I didn't talk about Nolan Patrick, who is a restricted free agent, so I'm going to add this. This, as you see now, this is added into the end of the previous video that I recorded. So, again, as for Patrick, as I said, restricted free agent. I personally love Nolan Patrick. He's an unbelievable player, has so much skill. I think it's really the year for him I am just so excited to see him finally play a full season in the NHL, see what his talent can be. And again, I think this could be the year for him to really come off his injury and start to play better. It sucks with the whole migraine disorder. It really sucks for him and his development because, again, if you look at this team, I mean, they could have had a center depth of Couturier, Hayes, Patrick. Could have thrown Lawton in there. You still have Giroux. You could throw Raffle at center. There's so many things that could have happened. Maybe they don't even go out and get Derek Grant and Thompson because they have Patrick and Lindblom. Who knows what they do, right? But again, Patrick, as I said, restricted free agent, 22 years of age. Angelo Ricci, he's talked about it before. He said that Patrick is like, I don't know the exact words he said, but this is a guy who's literally worked with Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, the stars of the NHL right now. And he's talked about Patrick. He's given him very high praises. I think it's huge for the Flyers. They will re-sign Patrick. I just don't know what it'll be. I'm honestly looking at maybe something like, I honestly have to think maybe like 1 year around the same thing. Maybe it's like a 1 year prove it deal. I'm not really sure because of the injury. You kind of have to take it easy with that. And you also have to play it very smart as well because, again, you don't want to be hurting yourself team-wise if he cannot play. So, again, I think it'll be just a smaller deal. I wouldn't be surprised if it's around the same contract, so that is something as well. But let me know what you guys think below on your thoughts on Patrick and things along those lines. And, again, I apologize for messing that up. I'm in the middle of my school lunch break right now, so there's a lot of things going into my mind. But, again, remember, guys, podcasts, articles, those links are on my channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys in the next one, and goodbye.